When I was in college, I used to house sit for a family during their annual vacations. Although I had a few creepy experiences in their home before, one particular incident forced me to quit house sitting for them altogether. I was in my 20s and trying to make ends meet with various side hustles, including house sitting. The family went on a 2-week vacation abroad and wouldn't have any service, so I was instructed to call the police or their relatives if anything went wrong. I should mention that I had already experienced a few unsettling moments in their house, but they had never been scary enough to make me stop because the pay was very good. With a background in animal care from working at an animal shelter, I was comfortable looking after their 4 well-behaved cats. For the first few days, everything went smoothly. I slept in the guest bedroom, attended my classes from their house since it was conveniently close, and enjoyed the extra benefits of not having to pay for parking or bring lunch. Things started to go awry after a few days when my boyfriend at the time came over with dinner to keep me company. He knew I was always a bit creeped out by the house. After a few hours of watching TV in the guest bedroom, he decided to go home. Sometimes he'd stay over, but that night he had a strong gut feeling that he needed to sleep at his own place. He urged me to leave with him because his feeling was so intense. It was around midnight, and I really didn't want to go home. I had a complicated home life and didn't get along with my parents. House sitting was my annual escape, and I didn't want to waste it. Despite his concern, I reassured him that I would be fine, locking up after he left. I reminded him of the security alarm, the safe neighborhood, and the 4 friendly cats keeping me company. He reluctantly left, and that's when the strange occurrences began. After locking all the doors and windows and setting the security alarm, I got comfortable in bed. Suddenly, the TV turned on by itself. Assuming I had accidentally sat on the remote, I checked and saw it on the nightstand. I turned off the TV, but it turned on again, this time displaying a black and white, off-channel screen. I repeatedly turned it off, but it kept turning on. Freaking out, I finally unplugged the TV entirely. Despite this new creepy incident, I convinced myself it was just a wiring issue due to the recent renovations. I opted to sleep on the couch instead. The next day, my boyfriend came over again. I told him about the TV incident, and he insisted I should have gone home. Although I was freaked out, it was still preferable to dealing with my family. That night, we had dinner and watched a movie in the living room. To explain the house's layout, it had 2 floors, the first floor with the living room, and a basement that served as a large living room with a spare room. As we watched the movie, I suddenly heard sounds from the basement that resembled a baby crying. My boyfriend and I froze, exchanging glances to confirm we both heard it. Recalling my training at the animal shelter, I knew cats could sometimes sound like babies when distressed. Noticing only 3 of the 4 cats, I figured the youngest cat, who was around 3 years old, might be stuck downstairs. I went to the basement and found the young cat stuck in the spare room. Relieved, I carried him upstairs, and we continued our evening. We paused the movie to feed the cats, who had a strict feeding schedule. The kitchen, where the feeding station was located, connected to the basement and living room. After feeding the cats, they usually disappeared to nap in the master bedroom or the teenagers' room, which smelled like their family. This routine was familiar from previous years of house sitting. After finishing our movie, we heard the crying noises from the basement again, louder this time because we were closer. Panicking internally, I told my boyfriend I would check it out. The cries sounded more frequent and higher pitched. As I descended the stairs, calling the cat's name, the crying grew louder but abruptly stopped when I reached the basement. Frantically searching the spare room and other spots, I found nothing. My fear intensified, and I raced back upstairs, heart pounding. Returning to the kitchen, I saw my boyfriend with a horrified expression, surrounded by all 4 cats. He told me they had all emerged from the bedrooms while I was downstairs. No cat had been in the basement. Terrified, I packed my belongings, and we left the house immediately. For the rest of the week, I only returned once a day to clean the litter box and feed the cats, disregarding their strict eating schedule. On the last day, I locked up, left the keys in their hiding spot, and informed the family that I wouldn't be returning. The house had become too unsettling, and in hindsight, the experiences had been escalating each year. I should have quit sooner. I remember calling my sibling on the drive back to my parents' house, feeling even worse when they revealed they had also had a creepy experience in that house, but hadn't told me to avoid scaring me while I was trying to save money to move out.